We got America's mayor, the president's lawyer, the head of this effort to make sure that every legal vote counts. He's defending the country, as he does all the time. One of the best prosecutors in the history of our nation. Put the mob away, put the Wall Street mafia away. Rudy Giuliani. Mayor, thank you very much. I know you're incredibly busy with not just doing interviews, but everything you're doing in the campaign. You finally broke through, and you're going to have a hearing tomorrow, and I think it's in historic Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Tell us, how did you finally pull this? It's fabulous. How did you pull it off? And you're the guy that's going to be you're going to be presenting. You're the key presenter with, I guess, some of your witnesses. We do know that Liz Preate Harvey or Havey is going to be also. She's from Montgomery County. She's going to be there with other, I think, officials in the Republican Party to walk through how some of these counties are so out of whack with history. But you're bringing the receipts. You're actually bringing, I think, affidavits and maybe some witnesses. Tell people, how did you finally pull this off, and what are you going to do tomorrow?
Well, the courts have shut us out from having a hearing. When I say the courts, we've only gotten to that point with one court, and that was the court in Pennsylvania. All we were asking for was a hearing so that we could put on a sample of our 50 or so witnesses, maybe 20 of them, and then affidavits. And the judge cut us off, and we're on appeal, but it'll take us a week or two to resolve that. So I spoke to members of the legislature. It's their responsibility to conduct the presidential election, by the way. Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution puts the electors, the selection of the electors, in the hands of the state legislature, not the governor, not the commissioner of elections. They're just functionaries. The decision maker by the Constitution of the United States are the state legislators. So we went to them and said, basically, we're getting robbed. Not only have they cheated us out of the election, they're cheating us out of a hearing. So we'll have our first hearing tomorrow. We'll produce a sample of the witnesses, maybe 8, 10 of the 50 that we have. But they'll cover the categories of fraud that happened in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania was a complete ripoff. I mean, there are well over 600,000 illegitimate ballots in Pennsylvania. And that happened. I mean, the president was ahead 800,000 votes when he went to sleep on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. All of a sudden, the next morning, they make up 500, 600,000 votes. That's just crazy. And we have the witnesses who will say that no Republican ever got a chance to put their eyes on any of those mail-in ballots, ever. Even though there's a time-honored rule in every state that you get to inspect the ballot, both sides, so that there can't be cheating. We were shut out. Hundreds of inspectors were shut out. Never happened before. They were put in corrals like they were cattle. They were pushed around, pushed out. They didn't want Republicans getting anywhere near these ballots. And there's got to be only one reason for that, Steve, the obvious reason. The ballots were crooked. They were phony. And then we'll have witnesses that come on and say they showed up to vote on election day. And they were told, you voted already. And they said, no, we didn't vote already. Yes, you did. No, we didn't. Well, in fact, they had voted, but somebody else had voted for them. We've got 17,000 situations like that just in Pittsburgh. 17,000 like that. We'll have a list, of course, of the dead people that voted in Philadelphia. There wouldn't be an election in Philadelphia if a lot of dead people didn't vote. I think we got only half of them. The other half, could take a little. It's hard to find dead people. You can't go interview them. You have to go through the list and see. But in some cases in Philadelphia, it's easy because some of them have been dead 30 and 40 years. I mean, they cheat in Philadelphia like you can get away with it because it's a crooked city machine.
Yeah.
And the courts are crooked.
Yep. Let me just jump in here. I just got to ask some things. So, are you saying that you don't think the judge and the federal judge did not schedule and basically try to blow you guys out of the water at the first gating event and didn't give you an evidentiary hearing because he did not want to? He did not want. They did not want to. That's a pretty harsh charge against a federal judge, isn't it?
Well, it's the fact. I mean, very few cases get dismissed on a motion to dismiss. In doing it, he decided that he didn't agree with some of the allegations. Well, you don't make a decision like that on a motion to dismiss. On a motion to dismiss, not to get too technical, you have to assume that everything that I'm saying is true. And if it's true, there's no case. Well, if it is true that they secretly counted 682,770 votes, then I should at least get a hearing, right? You can't decide on paper that that's true or false, particularly when I tell you I have affidavits.
So that's the point I'm trying to get. I'm trying to go through the logical. So, and you're saying, therefore, you get that 600,000 numbers, the 682, that you're saying is what you guys calculated, that the observers were pushed away or not allowed to get and observe, that is of the 2.6 million mail-in ballots, that 682,000 of them were without observers being close enough to actually do checkings of naked ballots, the signatures, and all that.
Correct.
Is that the point you're making? Okay.
Yes, and then we have external evidence that their method of cheating was to stuff the ballot box with those ballots. So of course they wanted to keep us away. I should also correct, Professor Turley goes on television all the time and says we want to cancel 6 or 7 million votes. I have no idea what he's talking about. We're talking about 600,000 votes. We don't want to cancel all the votes. We want to cancel the illegal votes. We'd like to cancel the votes of the dead people. I hope he's okay with that. We'd like to cancel the votes where there's an overvote. So you have some precincts in which, let's say, 4,000 people are registered, but 8,000 people voted. Well, you know there are 4,000 illegitimate votes in that precinct. We have illegal.
So I just want to go.
Voted.
Yeah.
But when
people say
every category of fraud in Pennsylvania.
Good. And here's my other point. When people say you have no evidence and you've just been throwing wild accusations, it's back to that 600,000. And then tomorrow you're going to bring in every different category and vertical affidavits that are emblematic of others that you could get, right? That add up to a certain number. Now, that number does not add up to 682, but you'll be able to say, hey, it goes over that?
Yes. Well, it's well over 682. I mean, it's at least another couple 100,000 in those other categories.
Okay.
No,
so you can get up to 800,000 plus.
Easily that we can count that needs to be deducted from the vote. And once again, we're not asking for 7 million votes to be canceled. That would be, I think people say that to make us sound like we're stupid. And then they say things like, we have no evidence, but they don't bother to read the complaint. We actually attach affidavits to some of the complaints, so they won't be able to say that. And affidavits are sworn statements. They're a lot better than Democrats ever produce. They never produce sworn statements. They just produce anonymous people. These are real people. They want to testify. They're citizens of Pennsylvania. We have lined up 80 of them to testify at a trial. We'll take 10 to 12 tomorrow as symbolic of that, so the legislators can see how their own citizens were cheated. I mean, many of them, 17,000 people in Pittsburgh, were cheated out of the right to vote because somebody else illegally voted their ballot in the early voting.
But Dershowitz, in going through your case, said, hey, I think Rudy's got a great case to make an argument to rule in his favor. The problem is Rudy doesn't have anywhere close to the, I think it's 80, is it 82,000, is it 82 or 52 in Pennsylvania right now to overturn it? To actually overturn it, it was 52 the other day. Is it gotten higher?
Do you know where we are, Greg? 82 or 52?
What, it's 80, so it's 82,000. You don't have close to the 82,000. And the courts are not going to give Rudy and the president just a Pyrrhic victory. They're not going to sit there and go, you're absolutely correct, but since you can't show it, because then they're going to have all kind of chaos. I mean, I would love it because it shows that this is illegal. But do you believe in your witnesses that you can come in tomorrow and make the second point that, hey, we're right on the law, and as importantly, we've got the receipts, or we've got the receipts that a judge can sit there and go, yeah, I see where these guys can get to the 82 to actually turn it around, or to not decertify.
I think, and particularly in Pennsylvania, I think we're way over the 82,000 that we need. just in the ballots that were secretly counted, which had to be inspected, we have 682,000. We have 30 or 40,000 people without citizenship who voted. We have 17,000 alone in Pittsburgh, where people had voted before they got there to vote. In other words, somebody had illegally voted for them. We have about 22,000 in Philadelphia. I mean, the numbers add up to way over, maybe 5, 6 times the number that we need.